Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time, a Wave Sports and Entertainment original presented by Prize Picks. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars. I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. Happy New Year to those who celebrate. I mean, I guess if you're alive, you might want to try the Happy New Year thing. It ain't the worst thing that you could possibly ask for. We're going to talk a little bit about the college football playoff and what we saw in that a little bit later in the show. But first, I got to be honest with you, man. At the time of this recording, it is a robust 29 degrees outside, and I am sitting here currently wearing a t-shirt. It's a little bit chilly. I need to put on something a little bit warmer. Hold on one second. Oh, man. It's good old Honolulu blue. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I feel so much better now. So much better now. Sean, you see the best team in the NFL get it done again?
Not only did they get it done, they embarrassed a team that was considered to be a rival to them. Just
that is right.
Absolutely obliterated them. You got some Honolulu blue on your mustache from some extra.
Okay, let me get it all taken care of. You know, I shaved the dome right before we started. You know what I'm saying? So I could get some greatness caught in my scalp. Yeah, so I got to be honest with you. I had slowed down a little bit in making my references to the best team in the NFL because quite honestly, man, they was a little bit depleted, right? They was happening, but they wasn't like Afghanistan because they wasn't bombed out. You know what I'm saying? They was still out here getting some dubs, caught a couple L's that I wasn't expecting, you know what I'm saying? But still, they kept making it happen. And then, man, things starting to pick up. Who's that Italian linebacker they got? Anzalone. He coming back. They say that the boy Knuckles, he probably gonna be back when they play their game in a couple of weeks. Like this is starting to ramp back up, and they're starting to get to where they need to be and to set us up for what could be an all-time great and anticipated Super Bowl against the Kansas City Chiefs, where you had a 3-peat against America's team. That's right. America's team wear blue and silver. It's just the Honolulu blue. This is what America is really all about. This is what America really want to be, is what the Lions is talking about. That's what they're going for. That's what they got. And I know if you watch the game on Sunday night, what I've been telling y'all, I ain't had the opportunity yet to send Mina Combs a text about it. But I meant to ask her because if you guys recall, she came on our show and she referred to herself as a Sam-pathizer because these are the people that was buying into this Sam Darnold thing. Sam Darnold had a good season. Sam Darnold made the Pro Bowl. But if you watch the Week 18 game that he played against the Motor City Muscle, that's what they say on the sign that he got in the back. That's that Motor City Muscle. Anyway, you know who was playing in that game. I told y'all who was playing in that game. I've said it to you many times before in making reference to this. Don't talk to me about no Sam Darnold, because I watched that game and I saw same Darnold. The same Darnold that I've been synced since he came into the NFL. Same Darnold could not complete a pass in the red zone. Same Darnold had Jordan Jefferson. Justin. This was Justin's, right, Sean?
Yeah,
it's Justin's.
Justin.
Okay.
I'm glad we started the new year with the Jordan Justin Jefferson. It's perfect.
Hey, man, I'm just saying, this is the thing that happens when people give their kids these same-ass names. You know what I'm saying? And if it's hard for me, I can't imagine how tired Justin Jefferson is of his mama calling him Jordan. You know, the only place where they don't never call him no Jordan Jefferson is at LSU because they feel a lot better about Justin than they felt about Jordan. Anyway. Same Darnold couldn't get the ball to him. Same Darnold didn't complete 50% of his passes in that big game against this defense that been bombed out and depleted so much. They still came out here. They still got it done. They still my pick to win the NFC, and then we're going to see what happens when they get down there to New Orleans. And I'm going to just say this. If it's going to be a whole lot of Detroit coming down to New Orleans, boy, whoo, man, that sounds so Negroid. I don't think that's an inappropriate term for me to use. I'd avoid, some of you guys probably don't need to do that, but I don't really have any other way that I can. Or how about if I said that it would be a weekend brimming with negritude? I feel like that gets us into a safer space that people feel better about.
I still don't think I can say either, but I think
No. Well, Sean, if I can't say Negroid, given that breakdown, I really can't talk about your people. That is maybe the most antiquated thing that you can call anybody is that one. I don't even want to say it.
Yeah, we'll leave that just for the off the record.
Yeah. But anyway, the best team in the NFL has kind of come up as people are looking to make comparisons between some situations because, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I came out here talking about this Happy New Year, but y'all know what today is all about, man. They out here firing people today. And I have to be honest with you. One of the benefits of the NFL season moving out by a week or so, I feel like when I was a kid, they used to be out here firing them on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what they no, that's not going to happen now. You're going to get past New Year's, and then they get out there, and they get to start firing people. Now, I understand the argument, and it's said very often that nobody, like, wants to wish for somebody to lose their job or everything else. I agree with you, but I am going to point out very briefly, the problem with losing your job is not losing your job. The problem with losing your job is losing your paycheck. None of these people are going to be losing any paychecks that they have been promised, right? So I think to a degree it's okay to talk about these things. Sometimes people got to be fired. I've been in these situations. I've been fired a few times myself. I got to tell you, it's not really the end of the world. I know it sounds really, really terrible, right? But in terms like once you figure out how to make them checks, like, you know, you might miss a couple bills. You know what I'm saying? It's a little tough. Take a couple dings on the credit score. Like that kind of thing can happen. But if you already got a car, you already got a house, you know, you can kind of make that. But assuming you can go get another job. Anyway, these coaches we talk about, don't worry about them. By and large, they will just be fine. And if not, they should have been saving their money a little bit more. But as one might have expected, the first coach to get fired in the carousel was Gerard Mayo. And when I say that Gerard Mayo was the first coach to get fired in the carousel, he clearly wasn't the first, right? We had the dude Eberflus for the Bears who got fired earlier this year. They fired Robert Saleh earlier this year. It's somebody else out here that's interim coaching. I ain't got time to remember that. But anyway, we had some people who in the course of the season got relieved of their duties. That has already happened. Before the end of the year carousel, the first one was Gerard Mayo. Sean, they fired that man 20 minutes after the game. I don't even know if did they let him go talk to the team?
I don't. Yeah, I guess he talked to the team and then they fired him. I don't know if did he fly back with them?
I mean, I think no, they was at the crib. They was at the crib, so he may have just walk straight out the car. Like they fired him like when they cut people at Hard Knocks, just kind of in reverse. You know what I'm saying? When they come in the morning and before they can even get down the hallway, somebody come put their arm around you, be like, "Hey, Pep, let me talk to you over here to the side for a second. You got your iPad? All right, cool. Bring that over here." That's what they said to Gerard Mayo. Like if Gerard Mayo, I don't know, like if he left his pictures and stuff on the desk or whatever it is. I don't know if he saw it coming, but they got him so fast after the game. Put out a statement, everything else. All right. I want to talk about this on a couple of levels because as I am not just simply a black man, but one with a history of rabble-rousing, I'm the sort of person that people come to in a time like this to talk about whether or not what they did was fair. Now, if you have listened to me for years, you understand this one thing I tell you about coaching firers. It's always very difficult if the firing itself was fair because I could go through this league at any given times and it has 32 teams. I could find 24 coaches for whom I could make an argument for firing them if I decided that I wanted to fire them. The reason that coaches get fired is because the owner wants to fire them. All right? It's not necessarily about checking some boxes. It's not necessarily about whether you've accomplished this, done this, or whatever it is. What it really comes down to is a somewhat amorphous idea, and that is, does this owner want to fire you? And there could be many reasons why the owner might want to fire you. But with Gerard Mayo, clearly Bob Kraft wanted to fire him. Now, in Bob Kraft's statement, he said he's known Mayo for 17 years, and it's one of the hardest things that he's ever had to do. But clearly, he wanted to fire the man. Now, if you were to ask me, I would say that the reason he wanted to fire the man was he's probably going to hire Mike Vrabel. Right? If he feels like he has the opportunity to hire a coach that in his mind he knows is good versus the coach that he has now that he hopes will be good, then he's going to go get the guy that he believes knows will be good. That's what it's going to be. Now, does that change the fact that it feels like our African-American brothers seem to be disproportionately members of the NFL one-and-done coaching club? No, it doesn't change that fact. Does it change this fact? And I think that this fact for me about Mayo is very important. Once you decide you're going to hire a dude like him, to me, you need to make the commitment for 2 or 3 years that is what you were going to do. Because you are understanding that you are hiring a guy who has never been higher ranked on a coaching staff, if I'm not mistaken, than inside linebackers coach. You know you hiring somebody who doesn't know what he's doing. You know that there is going to be a learning curve of sorts. And I think this part is very important, you know you hiring the black dude. There's not going to be but so much benefit of the doubt cut to him by fans, by media, and other folks. It's probably not going to happen. So once you decide that you're going to make this move, you need to stand 10 toes down on what it is that you are going to do. And when it looks bad at times, I don't know exactly how you own it or whatever it is, but you say, this is what we're doing. We think this is going to pay off down the line. So in order to do that, we've got to stick with this. But I don't believe that it is fair, right, appropriate, or that it makes any sense to make your decisions on a hire like him based on what you see after 1 year. I just don't. By the way, 1 year where you performed about the way that you did last year when you had the man that most of us believe to be the best coach who ever lived, right? I don't think that this is a smart play for them in that regard. What I also acknowledge, though, is, man, I ain't been watching them sorry jokers play. I don't know nothing about them other than Drake May seem to be working out. I don't really know who play for them. I'm going to be the first one to tell you that. I haven't watched enough of their games. So I'm not in a position to say whether or not the team was poorly coached or the team looked poorly coached or any of those things. I'm not there. I can't do that. I can say this, though. I've seen the comparison that people have made to Dan Campbell in Detroit. And I believe in Detroit, they started that season 0-10-1. I can't believe I said 0. I'm not that bougie. They started that season 0-10-1 with the Lions. What I think you have to keep in mind about that, or what I think is like, I don't want to say is different between that and New England, because again, I hadn't seen it. But these decisions to me have to be based on process. And the people who were around the Lions at the time seemed to universally believe that they had set up a process that was going to pay off. And therefore, it wasn't so much about the fact that they had not won their first 11 games. They saw what was being established. They saw what was being set up. And they thought that that was ultimately going to bear fruit. And look, they got the same quarterback and the same head coach from when they started that way. Clearly, they knew something about what it is that they were talking about, right? So to me, in the way that you make these decisions, it can't simply be about what the results are, what the numbers are on the back end. So to me, you don't fire Gerard Mayo because he's 4-13. I don't think that that would be a wise decision for you to make. However, if you don't like the process that he has in place, I feel like once you've made the decision to hire somebody as inexperienced as him, then you make the decision to go into another year and figure out how to change that process. So Kraft's argument is, I thought that we were going to be better this year, therefore I'm firing him. If that's what you thought, or that's where you were coming from, that was stupid. And that was just a terrible thought process to have. The counterpoint to that, of course, is very simple. And let me look this up to make sure that I get the right number here. The counterpoint to that is that Bob Kraft is 83 years old. He too old to be out here talking about some process. You know what I'm saying? That's not, I don't think that, 83 years old ain't really got no 5-year plan. Is that fair to say? Or maybe he does have a 5-year plan, right? Like maybe he think he done got the game rigged. I would just understand if 83 did not have a 5-year plan, right? So have they treated Mayo unfairly? It's possible. Maybe. But I don't think so. Not here. Also, remember this one. Bob Kraft fired Pete Carroll after 3 years. And if I'm not mistaken, all 3 of those years, they were over 500, and then they hired Bill Belichick. Belichick started his first season, not started his first season, but he was in his first season, I believe, 6-10, and then the second season they won the Super Bowl, and the run began. Bill Belichick had 2 bad seasons, and then he fired him. I say all that to say, we don't really have any evidence, as far as I can tell, of Bob Kraft being patient with coaches. He just had a really good one for a really long time. But if you was gonna make the move that you decided to make to go with Mayo, this was bad business. And I'm gonna throw this out. Like, I don't think anybody's doing anything sinister here, just to be clear. But something I have noticed in a few different places, the one thing that we all talk about is that it is very difficult to be the coach that replaces a legend, right? We talk about this in every sport, that it's very difficult to be the coach that replaces a legend. We've seen a lot of legends, especially in college, we've seen this, where we've seen a lot of legends move on and anoint their replacements. And a lot of those legends made the decision to do what I think they thought was the right thing to do, which is to elevate a black man to those jobs because they weren't necessarily sure that somebody else would do it. And it was time for that program to have one. We saw that happen at Villanova. We saw that happen at Syracuse. We saw it happen at North Carolina. Gerard Mayo is an example where, Belichick didn't elevate him, but Kraft decided that this was the time for them to make their little piece of history and everything else. And I feel like I kind of need to say, in a lot of ways, to these people who are elevating and giving these jobs to these brothers after these legendary coaches are leaving, I don't know how to say this, but somebody might need to be like, yo, thanks, but no thanks, homie. Why we got to get the hardest job you got, bruh? Like, can't you let some white man come in here and take these flames, and then I come take the job after him? You ever think about that? I was just throwing it out there. Like, I know, I don't want to. I understand I might sound like an ingrate, but at the same time, I'm looking at what's going on to my brothers, and it's just kind of like I'm glad the contracts are guaranteed, but we would all acknowledge this is not the greatest position for success. Sean, somebody is going to aggregate this and treat it as being way more serious.
Yeah, well, you're going to get those headlines that take everything you said out of context.
Yes. I still think it was pretty damn funny. Anyway, shout out to Doug Peterson. He didn't make it to 9 o'clock this morning. I can't believe he made it to the end of the season as the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. They say they're going to keep them dudes with the Giants. That doesn't make any sense to me. And the reason it doesn't make any sense to me is I think you're acknowledging, if you keep Daboll and Joe Shane, there's a certain acknowledgement there that they're on the hot seat, right? I think we'd all say that's fair. I don't think that they're looking at them like they got a 5-year plan. They're on the hot seat. Sean, they also have to draft a quarterback if they can. So you're going to put that decision in the hands of the hot seat GM and the hot seat coach?
It's just so cyclical. It's like they hire a rookie quarterback. The rookie quarterback's not going to play well in the first year because it's rare, and then they're going to fire everyone again and go through the whole motion.
No, that just doesn't. That, to me, does not make any sense whatsoever. But they are going to be doing it. Anybody else get fired? Did we get to everybody that got fired?
There were some DCs and OCs. Let me double check.
Yeah.
That's pretty much. I think that's pretty much all the heavy hitters.
Okay. I gotta say, it hasn't been nearly as tragic a day as we thought that it was going to be this go round. Okay, I guess there's still time though. Who booty hole probably don't need to loosen up no time soon. Raheem, I think you cool, but you got an old owner too, right? You might want to keep the squeeze. Antonio Pierce, yeah, same. You might want to keep it tight. Just letting you know. Rest of y'all cool though. Y'all straight. All right. Watched a lot of college football playoff during the time off. Sean, did you watch any of the college games?
Yeah, I watched on New Year's that Arizona State. That
was a good game.
Madness of that game, and I watched it with an Arizona State fan, so I got to really see the ups and downs of that game from the full POV. It was quite electric.
Well, especially for Arizona State because they ain't got no experience with success.
It was one of those things of like, wow, we really have a chance. We can really do it. And then halfway towards the end of the game, they're like, wow, we're really going to do this. And then after the pain of the loss, it was more like, we're just happy to be here. We've arrived. It was our first time, and honestly, good on them.
The last time they played a game of consequence that I remember was actually the Rose Bowl, January 1st, 1997, and they were one possession away from winning a national championship.
Yep.
Like, I will give them this. When they decide to be halfway worth a damn, they take it all the way, right? Good for them. They are coached by a white man named Kenny. And I know that there are other white Kennys, like it's Kenny Dillingham. There's Kenny Atkinson, who coaches the Cleveland Cavaliers. But if I tell you the Cleveland Cavaliers got a coach named Kenny, you ain't going to expect it to be that white man that's sitting there on that bench. I'm just telling you right now. I don't know when it was that white people decided we could have Kenny, because that's what happens with a lot of those names. Like the name Tyrone, for example. Tyrone is a traditional Irish name. At some point, white people looked around and was like, yo, they treated it like we took Tyrone like it was a shirt and we stretched that bitch out. And then they was like, nah, man, you can keep it. We ain't even gonna do that. For example, Stephen Colbert's middle name is Tyrone. Bet you didn't know that.
I had no idea, and it kind of makes sense. It kind of fits,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But anyway, the college football playoff has had one small problem, and it has been the beat 'em down. It has been overrun with beat 'em down. The first round was overrun by beat 'em down from the higher seeded teams that were hosting the games. And then in a very interesting quirk, with the exception of the Arizona State-Texas game, those other three, Sean, correct me if I'm wrong. Well, no, Penn State was the higher seeded team. But you had that lower seeded beat 'em down situation that was coming down there. But we had no close games other than that one.
No, and I think the Arizona State game was the only entertaining game. By the second minute of the Ohio State-Oregon game, the game was over. You were just like, this game's over. I turn it off.
Yeah, that one was over. The Notre Dame, Georgia, I think the factor about Georgia that gets lost is it's the same three-peat situation with anybody else. We have not seen a national championship three-peat in college football. Not in my life. Not that I can recall. We have not seen this. It's really difficult. And that Georgia team, like, we talk about the stuff with all their driving, the driving citations and everything else, but they had a situation, man, where people dying. The racing situation that with the Jalen Carter allegations and all of this stuff. I just say that to say that this is a squad of dudes that's played a lot of games and been through a lot. And this year they struggled to run the ball. Like, you would understand how a team like that, including the coaching staff, by the way, that downgraded offensive coordinators a couple years ago. We should know Todd Monken, who coaches now in Baltimore, going to Mike Bobo, who they were tired of many years before. But teams like that run out of gas. Notre Dame put the hurt to them. Like, I didn't think it would necessarily go like that, but, Notre Dame, they put the paws on them boys. Penn State, they got to play against Boise State. You know what I'm saying? There's no real surprise there, though. Boise State in the Fiesta Bowl, as we all know, they'll mess around and get you. But they got it done. What I thought was interesting coming out of this were the discussions that people had about the Southeastern Conference on the heels of this, because it was not a great bowl season for the SEC. Alabama they took a good one to Michigan. Like Michigan, who none of us really think is good. Now, granted, Michigan beat Ohio State, but we understand those are somewhat special circumstances. But you had Indiana and all these other teams that they was trying to tell us Alabama should have been in there instead of them. And then Alabama went out there and got whooped. And I've seen people make the argument that what has happened is that the NIL situation has changed the game up. And now what you're not going to see from these schools in the SEC is the level of depth that you had seen in the past. And now the conferences are leveling themselves out. Like, at this point, Texas is the only SEC team that is left in the tournament. And I don't know if they're anybody's favorite in this tournament. I want to give you just a couple things to think about with the SEC, or at least is what I think about when we operate on the assumption of the hegemony of Southeastern Conference football. The first thing is that the reason why the SEC is the best conference in America is obvious, and everybody knows it. They sit on the best real estate. And for the majority of the history of college football, the greatest predictor of where a player would go was proximity to home. And so the SEC, for the last 20 years or so, had the proximity of the best players in the country, or had the closest proximity to the best players in the country and for the first time really in their existence, had a wholehearted dedication to racial integration of football. They decided that it was actually more important to them to be good at football than it was to maintain the racist order of the day. This is what happened. There is no reason why the SEC could not have been the dominant conference in any other decade, but they weren't. It was only until recently when they decided, fine, give us all the black people we can get. And they went ahead and did that. Okay. But I had always thought that people had conflated something about the SEC when they talked about how good it was or what would happen if another team was in the SEC, or you take these teams and how good they are relative to everybody else. All right. This is my read on the SEC. What makes the SEC maybe the most interesting conference in America, or had been, because now the new SEC just has a zillion teams. It's hard to know even exactly what we're talking about. But this is what it had previously. And Texas and Oklahoma added to this. The SEC had the most schools who were capable of winning a national championship. There aren't that many schools in the country who are at all capable in college football of winning a national championship, right? I can run through and find them for you, and I'm going to give you credit for having done it if you've done it recently. If you haven't done it recently, I'm not, right? So Clemson is capable of winning a national championship. I've seen it in the last 10 years. I used to think Miami was capable of winning a national championship, but I haven't seen that in about 25. You understand the distinction I'm making here? I don't think the Big 12, as it's constructed, has a single team that's capable of winning a national championship. Florida State in the ACC, they can win a national championship. I've seen it recently, but it can get dicey. I think Ohio State is capable of winning a national championship. I think USC is capable of winning a national championship. I think Michigan is capable of winning a national championship. I don't think anybody else in the Big 12, in the Big 10 is truly capable of winning a national championship. That's why James Franklin at Penn State is so interesting, because I don't have a great answer for exactly how good they think they should be. They'll never be as good as they were in the Joe Paterno independent days. So I don't know exactly how good they think they should be. But let's get this over here to the SEC. Texas, Georgia, Alabama, LSU, Auburn, because I've seen it recently, but it took a lot. Oklahoma, it's been a while since I've seen it, but I still think it's possible there. Florida, it's been a little while since I've seen it, but I still think it's possible there. Maybe even Texas A&M, if they stop being Texas A&M. I think I just listed 8 schools that are capable of winning a national championship. If everything lines up right, all those schools can win a national championship. And that makes the SEC different from everybody else. Here's the thing, though. That whole thing about if everything lines up right, that don't happen very much. Okay? That doesn't happen very often. In a given year, especially now that Alabama is not going to be the nonstop machine that it was previously, it's going to be years like this every now and then where the SEC just ain't got the team. But it was just last year that Georgia was the juggernaut. It was just 2 years before that Georgia and Alabama were juggernaut 1 and juggernaut 2. You're not going to tell me that much has changed in these last 2 years. It hasn't. What has happened is the way that we evaluate the SEC has just been wrong. What is capable on the high end is different there than everywhere else. But rarely has there actually been the level of depth that people talk about. And that's how you wind up in a situation where people start tricking themselves into thinking that somebody like Ole Miss can really get it out here and make it crack. Make it crack. They still Ole Miss. South Carolina can't win the SEC. Ole Miss can't win the SEC. When's the last time? I know South Carolina never has. When's the last time Ole Miss did? Like 1963 or 4 or something like that? You can't do it. That's all I'm saying. There's a lot of schools in the SEC that actually have a lower ceiling than I think that people recognize. And if everything goes right, they got a lot of schools that can wind up being really good. But when they go face up with the other part of the country's really good, they actually about the same. Now, leveling the playing field to me started before NIL, if you want to say that there was some leveling. It was the satellite camps that the SEC schools didn't want that made it a lot easier for these schools to recruit from these other places. It also got a lot easier to recruit once the cell phone came around and communication long distance became a lot easier. Like a lot of things changed that changed the regionalism of what this is. But I think that in the aughts of this century, and for about a 7-8 year span, a lot came together that made the SEC stronger than it had been and look a lot stronger than everybody else. But the reality has been, once you get past the tippy top, everybody kind of about the same. And that tippy top, sometimes it was just the tippy top of the SEC. And that's what happened this year. That's all it was. They're not going to win it every time with a tournament. Just know that, right? However, I do think our tournament has shown us that if you're supposed to win, you're probably going to win. I don't think we're going to wind up with that many true upsets in this tournament. The team that's supposed to win is going to wind up winning. It just so happened in this case, the team that was supposed to win, we got wrong because we gave the SEC too much credit with respect to Georgia. The team that was supposed to win was Notre Dame, a team that lost to Northern Illinois. The NBA is in full swing and the NFL playoffs are right around the corner, which means you could turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite teams only on Prize Picks. You can make a Prize Picks lineup between the NFL and the NBA in as little as 60 seconds. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 fantasy sports app. But rather than hearing it from me, let's hear from our expert picker. Sean, how the picks been going for you?
Bo, I believe I'm an expert in losing at the moment because this month has not been the best. But for all my picks, I'm glad the NBA and the NFL is heating up. And knowing I can make picks between both leagues and with the flex play, I can still cash out if my lineup isn't perfect. But as always, make sure you stick around for the end of the show to hear my upcoming picks. And if you know me, you know I'm always going to pick more.
So make sure you go to prizepicks.com/Bomani and use code Bomani for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/Bomani. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy. Peloton has what you need to keep you on track to your goals no matter what season of life you're in. Peloton helped me recover from my injury, and now I'm back in the gym using all the great stuff Peloton has to offer. Peloton has all sorts of classes depending on how hard you want to train. If you want to take it easy some days, you can take a lighter cycling or cardio class to help you with your recovery. They have programs to keep you on track, from strength training programs you can use at the gym to meditation and yoga for the post-game. Plus, you can always challenge yourself anywhere with Peloton's all-access membership. You can work out where you need to be, like at home, on your bike, tread, and row, or take your favorite classes on the go and at the gym with the app. The app is super convenient, and I genuinely use it every week. And for me, I can really speak to Peloton's wide range of stretching and recovery classes, which are perfect to get my body moving at 100%. So make sure you download the Peloton app. Find your push, find your power with Peloton at onepeloton.com.
We know you can't be on top of all the news and information of the day. No need for the social media feeds. We got you. Now, if you haven't heard.
All right, Bo, here's our first one of the day.
Hi, I'm Nitish Pawa, an associate writer for business and technology at Slate.com. Recently, I wrote about the reasons why holiday travel this year, specifically over the air, might be better than you might be anticipating. I mean, we've seen a very chaotic holiday travel season ever since the peak of the pandemic, as people have rushed back to fly on planes to visit their folks far away. And the aviation industry and the federal government has had a hard time keeping up with that. There's been a shortage of needed employees at airports, at air carriers, and at the Federal Aviation Administration. And thanks to that factor, plus a lot of extreme weather over the past few years, we've seen quite a raft of flight cancellations, delays, and other myriad near disasters as people have been booking travel to visit folks over the summer, during Thanksgiving, during Christmas, during whatever occasion, really. And what's surprising is that this year, a lot of those factors are very much still in effect, but there have been a lot of moves made by, again, both the government and the private sector to smoothen out the experience for passengers. There is much more monitoring of key hubs for travel, like the Newark Liberty Airport. There's much more attention devoted to high traffic areas. And because of that, they've been able to bring down the number of cancellations and delays. And we've been able to see that play out this summer, especially, and even over Thanksgiving, which is surprising, not least because we've seen records broken for travel in both seasons, surpassing even numbers of flyers that we saw in 2019. So because of that, there's a lot of reason to believe that holiday travel for the end of the year might actually pan out a lot smoother than you think. And, if you are still in the unfortunate percentage of people who see their flights straight up canceled, there are new rules from the federal government that will allow you to recoup the cost of your ticket very quickly. Airliners are now required to provide an automatic refund instead of making you dig through the bureaucracy to get your money back. So happy holidays and safe travels out there.
Yeah, just act like the holidays haven't happened yet. Anyway, I got through the airport. I like actually I had a flight that got delayed by just a little bit, but by and large, my travel situation it seemed to be okay. I wasn't out there at the crazy times necessarily, but shout out to you got to the good part at the end where my man started talking about people getting them refunds immediately. Like that one is the thing right there. Like once they cancel you, although Sean, I don't know about you, but very rarely have they canceled a flight and my desire was not to get on the next one.
Yeah, I'm always like, I'll give it a full day or two before going back because I'm like just furious from a flight cancellation. But yeah, apparently you can immediately get a refund back now.
You got to get me on the next one, boy. I was in Vegas once. It took them 6 hours to cancel my flight, and I was sitting there at the gate. Because my only problem with it was, how you think I'm going to spend the time, man?
Right.
What you think I'm about to do? What you think? What is there for me to do in this Las Vegas place that you speak of? I made some money, but they, I ain't like the position they put me in.
Yeah, the last thing I want to do is stay at the airport longer than I need to, and that truly is the worst. But here's our next one.
Hi, my name's Elizabeth Rush, and I'm the author of Bogotá's Water Rationing is a Preview. In the spring of this year, the mayor of Bogotá began rationing water. The city and its 11 million inhabitants split into 9 zones, each of which would have no water once every 10 days. I'd heard about the plan, but by the time my family and I moved to Colombia this past summer, I'd forgotten. One afternoon, not 2 weeks after unpacking our bags, I tried to refill the half-empty water purification tank in the kitchen, but when I opened the faucet, nothing happened. In Colombia, climate change, coupled with deforestation in the Amazon and El Niño weather patterns that have become more intense, has caused a punishing and prolonged drought. The San Rafael Reservoir rests above the city and was, as of April when rationing began, at less than 20% capacity. Doing environmental good is often framed in terms of personal sacrifice, less air travel, adopting a meat-free diet, turning off the heat. Water rationing in Bogotá is different in one key way. It's a decision taken by a central institution to ensure the health and well-being of the entire city. Lately, I've been wondering, what if periodic water rationing weren't only implemented when the well runs dry? In the future the world is facing, preparation might mean anticipating inevitable shortages rather than promising they'll never occur. Imagine, for instance, that governments designated a day without water once every 4 months. A fire drill, but for drought. Periodic resource rationing would prepare us for a future that is sure to contain more days without water or electricity or heat than today. The only thing that's certain is that the things we depend upon are no longer dependable. What better way to become more resilient to external shocks than to practice?
Sean, did she say a whole day without water?
Yeah, unfortunately.
I'm sorry. I will not be practicing.
I can't do that. Can't catch me without drinking water.
Drinking water. There's lots of other things to do with water too. I will not be practicing. I will not be going like gotta go piss in the woods. I'm not. This is. Hey man, like I keep thinking about this every now and then. Somebody bring up the suggestion of moving to one of these countries, or every now and then, you know, my more body friends be talking about like going back to Africa and stuff like that. And let me tell you one thing I require my country have, and I'm not saying this doesn't happen. There are places where this does not happen around the world, okay? And that is this: I require 24-hour electricity. That is what I've come to expect from this world. I hit the switch, something happened. I can't imagine turning on the water and it'd be nothing. They'd be like, oh, not cool. It'll be back tomorrow. What, you ain't pay the bill? Nah. We just, every now and then we take a day off from water.
Simply when like, if you live in a big building and they turn off the water to like fix something, that 3-hour stretch for me personally, and I know I might sound like a diva, is a brutal 3-hour stretch or whatever it might be.
No.
I'm like, I don't have water. I'm going to die.
Yeah, if we're the problem, we're the problem. But the problem is bigger than us, okay? That's all I'm saying. The problem is bigger than us. You should have never told me that I should expect to have water when you don't never hear nobody be like, I just save a little money, man. I don't run no water, but, like one day a week, I just don't run no water. Nah, man, ain't nobody that broke.
No, that shouldn't be our problem at the end of the day, even though we might be the cause of it.
We are the problem. Sorry. That's what I'm gonna do. You want to come over here and get some water? Feel free. I'll pay for it. You know what I'm
saying? Here's our last one.
I'm Katie Natopoulos with Business Insider, and you've probably heard about these mystery drones that are flying over New Jersey and other parts of the country. People are saying they're seeing strange objects in the night sky, glowing orbs of light that are flying in weird ways, up and down and backwards, that airplanes don't move. And government officials are telling us not to panic. These are just regular, lawfully operated drones or small aircraft. Sometimes you can tell from the videos that people are posting, it's actually like a regular airplane. Sometimes they're even posting videos of planets or stars. And the government is saying it's not foreign adversaries or evidence that there's some military attack coming. But this isn't stopping people from believing in this conspiracy. I think that's great. We need a nice low-stakes conspiracy theory that we can all believe in. It unites our divided nation. Believing that the government is lying to us or that space aliens are real, that is a nonpartisan belief. Now, a lot of this is playing out on Facebook groups, which are perfect for this kind of conspiracy thinking. It's highly local. People in these New Jersey towns, there's a big Facebook group for the New Jersey drone sightings. They're posting photos. Hey, I'm in this town. What are you seeing in the next towns over? And hey, it's also getting people outside. It's a win. So let's just hope that space aliens are not about to blow up our planet. And that I think we're going to be all okay.
Hey, Sean, I just want to throw this out here because I see the argument that she makes about it being a low-stakes conspiracy theory, right? That's not something that's going to hurt anybody too much, so we can think that perhaps that they're aliens. I was talking with my brother about this over the break in a completely different kind of conversation, but I think we done let them get one over on us where you a crazy person because you think the government is lying to you. Why in the world would anybody ever think such a preposterous thing? When does that ever happen?
Yeah, it should be the opposite. Like, you're crazy if you don't think the government's lying to you. That's weirder to me.
Right,
That's a conspiracy right there.
Yeah, like I'm not saying they lying to you all the time, but you're not going to make it seem like I'm some kind of nut job because I think the government might be lying to me. Like, that is an amazing game that they have managed to run on us, right? Like that one right there. And look, I would not be surprised if it was some aliens, right? There's
I
no
agree.
reason to think that. But my thing about aliens is, aside from the Bible, is there any reason to think that it's a crazy idea?
No, it's
You know what I mean?
For how long we've been in existence and how big the planet is, it's you'd be an idiot not to believe there's at very minimum extraterrestrial life somewhere else, right? Like,
yeah, nothing at all can live in any other place, right? Like it operates on the idea that humans
Yep.
are the only, or humans or animals as we conceive of them are the only true possibility. You say it's some aliens, I don't care really that much. Like if we need to tool up against them, then let me know, right? I'm down to join the army, though I would prefer to be like a performer at the USO as opposed to out here like actually scrapping it out with them. But you know, if you need me, if you know, like I'm on team human, right? I want to make sure y'all understand that if it come down to it, right? But they have lost my faith in believing that it ain't no alien stuff. Like enough stuff has happened to people who work in government who tell enough about what they got coming out of there that it might be some aliens. It might be.
I totally agree. There was I wanted to bring it up because there's a conspiracy theory that I saw recently. There's been a lot of fog in places in California and some on the East Coast. There was a theory that the government is creating this fog to release like negative bacteria or biochemicals into the world just to test their ability to do that. And I read one crazy conspiracy theory. I saw the fog and I immediately was like, I believe it. Like that's how simply I don't trust the government. Of like, oh, I believe that thing's happening. Of course, I believe it without any proof.
You're a member of the most skeptical generation ever. Like this is where us being different ages come up. People around your age, man, y'all trust nothing.
Nothing. But yeah,
wow.
That's how it is. We'll move on to voicemails.
Yes.
Here's the first one.
Hey, Bomani, this is Alan in Maryland. You said that Baltimore versus Detroit would be the most soulful Super Bowl matchup for fans. Would Buffalo and Detroit be the chance to drink New Orleans dry matchup? Thank you.
Sean, what did he call it?
I want to play it again because I kind of missed it too.
Hey, Bomani, this is Alan in Maryland. You said that Baltimore versus Detroit would be the most soulful Super Bowl matchup for fans.
Hold on.
Would Buffalo and Detroit be the chance to drink New Orleans dry matchup? Thank you.
Oh, teams that made New Orleans cry? I think said.
The chance to drink New Orleans dry matchup.
No, you need Green Bay involved in that one. Like if you want to, if you want to drink New Orleans dry, you need to get the Saints in the Super Bowl, which I don't believe a loving God will ever allow to happen again. And then you need to bring in the Packers fans. As I recall, LSU played Wisconsin at Lambeau Field a few years ago, and they literally drank the place dry.
I remember that, and like almost right after halftime. Like they drank them dry so fast.
I thought they did it the day before. Like they showed up because those are the two states with the most French influence, and you know that's how it is that they wind up getting down. Oh no, nothing would be drunker than if the Packers fans showed. And in fact, the last time not the last time, 96 when the Packers won a Super Bowl, it was down there in New Orleans. And that was against the Boston people. Man, I bet there was some people ready to fight after losing that Super Bowl. They love to fight up there.
I'm just ready for the soulful Super Bowl that we might be getting.
I could see it. By the way, Sean, get ready. It's a good chance we're gonna get a Buffalo, maybe a Buffalo Baltimore playoff game this year. And buddy, that's gonna split America up like a boxing match. It's gonna be like Larry Holmes and Jerry Cooney. Woo, boy, it's gonna get dicey. They might start fighting on the set to get up.
All right, here's our next one.
What's good, Bomani? This is Jalen from Kentucky, long-time listener. I just wanted to ask, what is your favorite HBCU band arrangement? Thanks.
I don't really know what he means by band arrangement. I am not like a scholar necessarily.
I would assume what like modern song that HBC band has covered and like is arranged, you know?
You know what I love when all them bands is playing Not Like Us?
Yes.
That's what I loved. Every single body that did that, they get the win. Wow, somebody involved in this was overestimating my dexterity of the negritude. Nah, I can't. But there's people who do that. Like, if you are a band person,
They
the
love it.
resources that are available now with the internet are so completely different, where you can get as much of it as you can stand. I was never into band.
Yeah, I didn't play many instruments. I will say I have heard a couple covers of Right Above It, that Lil Wayne Drake song, which I think the song's kind of whatever, but that like opening chord the band does sounds very, very good.
Very good. Good call. Glad you could help the man out, Sean.
Yeah, I tried my best. Here's the last one.
Hey, what's up, Bo? This is Marcus out of Kansas City. Big fan of your show. Just wondering, knowing what you know now, if you had to start a franchise off in 2025-6, who's your starting quarterback? I know everybody would pick Mahomes, but aside from Mahomes, who are you going to go with under center?
All right. My first question is, how did that gentleman wind up in Kansas City, Missouri?
Two very different people from Kansas City calling in.
Yeah, just curious. And I have to say that if you're picking one for right now, and I don't know what exactly the time horizon is, it's really hard not to pick Jaden Daniels, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
at this point,
if we're talking like start a franchise today, youth is as big as a factor as skill. Like, I think you're right.
yeah, like I am stunned by how well he played this year. Now, if I recall, he was in college for about 15, 16 years. But I am still surprised that he managed to play as well as he has. What I'm curious to see, though, with the guys that are on that top level, the Mahomes, the Josh Allen, the Lamar Jackson, I'm very curious to see how each of them ages.
Yeah.
Right? Like with Josh Allen, who takes a lot of contact, even if he doesn't go down all the time off of it, I don't think that he's going to have a decline like Cam Newton did, which is a decline basically of a running back, right? Like, I don't think it's going to be that sort of situation. But when those guys who take those hits fall off, the fall off comes fast. Lamar Jackson seems to do a good job of avoiding that contact, but athleticism is such a big part of his game. I'm very curious to see how that goes. And with Mahomes also, like, athleticism is a big part of his. He just has maybe the best arm you've ever seen.
And Mahomes has been banged up. You don't know how long he'll want to last getting beat up at that position. I do think in the last few weeks Bryce Young has proved himself to be a very serviceable quarterback.
Good for him.
I'm very impressed by him.
Hey, man, it's kind of like what I'm saying about those young coaches. You got to trust process and what's going on. You got to see where it goes.
Yep.
And so with him, look, we've got, and this is where the data hurts us, where you wind up with this data that says the only guys that have been that bad that early are guys who washed out, the Josh Rosens and everything, and those examples. And so that makes it easier for you to decide to give up because you don't want to waste time. But sometimes you just got to invest in a dude like that. What they probably did wrong was he probably shouldn't have been starting as early as he did, because once they parked him for a couple weeks and he just got a chance to chill and see what was going on, he came back in, and now he out here throwing passes where he turning his back and calling touchdown before they even caught.
He's doing the Steph Curry stuff, and I'm like, that's the confidence that we expected him to come in, but it took a little bit, and that happens.
Yeah, and to be fair, why would you not be that confident if you were playing against the Atlanta Falcons?
Yeah,
Just
tough.
throwing it out there.
Tough.
Just throwing it out there. But, Sean, you got prize picks for the people.
I sure do. No Monday Night Football tonight, so we're sticking with the NBA. I got 4 picks for you. Nikola Vucevic, Bulls against Spurs. Give me 10.5 rebounds for Vucevic. I'll take more there. Tyrese Halliburton, 12.5 rebounds and assists. I'll take more. James Harden playing the Timberwolves, 19.5 points. I'll take more there. He's been playing quite well. And Victor Wembanyama, 44.5 points, rebounds, and assists. The dude continues to be a freak. I don't know if you saw that graphic of the 100 game stats, and he surpassed everyone in rebounds, points, blocks, and 3-pointers made. It's kind of freakish.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us here on The Right Time. We do this here 3 times a week. That's Sean Yu. He handles everything behind the scenes. Thank you, sir. Also, thanks to our If You Haven't Heard contributors. Thanks to Nitish Pawa of Slate. Check out the story on this year's holiday air travel at slate.com. Thanks to Elizabeth Rush of The Atlantic. Check out her story on Bogotá and water rationing at theatlantic.com. And thanks to Katie Natopoulos at Insider. Check out her story on those unexplained drones at insider.com. Remember, follow the Right Time. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars. I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. We'll talk to you guys in a couple of days. Take it easy.